Hey guys, my name is Matimio, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming or Battlefield-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a YouTube message. The first question for today is, with Battlefield 4 having 3 nations in the game, US, Russia, and China, what are your thoughts on maybe having a triple threat game mode in a future DLC? Squad deathmatch is similar, but 20 vs 20 vs 20 conquest would be a lot more fun. I personally love this concept. I've always been a fan of 3-faction warfare. I love it in PlanetSide 2. I loved it all the way back in Dark Age of Camelot. A lot of you probably don't even know what that game is, but 3-faction warfare is fantastic. It's not necessarily the most balanced in the sense of who is going to win and who is going to lose, because it's dependent on what the enemies are doing at that point. Because if you have a round where your team is doing very well, but the other 2 factions team up on you, there isn't really a whole lot you can do in that scenario. But at the same time, it's extremely epic. Like, having 3-faction warfare is an absolute blast, and honestly, if DICE did decide to do it, I would be a 100% for it. That being said though, I would not hold my breath, and I would not expect this for Battlefield 4 or in a future DLC, and that mainly comes down to the fact that the old gen systems, the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, would not be able to do anything like this. Like, those systems are so old, and the technology is just so outdated that they don't even have the memory to have more than 24 players on the battlefield at any given time. The graphics are severely reduced, and to have that epic 3-way faction warfare just simply would not be possible on the old gen systems. I mean, maybe they could reduce it down to a 8 versus 8 versus 8, and then you could kind of try to piecemeal things together. But realistically, because just those restrictions are so large on the old gen systems, and they do have to take them into consideration. Like, DICE has made it abundantly clear that they have limited what they've done in Battlefield 4 because of the old gen consoles, that I just don't see them going down this path. It sounds amazing. I think it would be a breath of fresh air. It would be completely different from our normal gameplay. Like, it would be a lot of fun. I truly believe that it would be an absolute blast, but I don't see DICE going down this path for Battlefield 4. The next question comes from Sam, and it is, do you think that the PDW's damage at close range should be increased because that is really the only range a PDW can be effective, and yet still most carbines and assault rifles can do the same damage output up close, but still have the capability to kill at long ranges? So the problem with this idea is that the engineer class is the king at taking out vehicles. You have all of the different missiles to take out tanks, you have the stingers to take out helicopters up in the sky, you got the anti-tank mines, you got the slam that basically acts as C4. Like, the slams are easily one of the most versatile gadgets in the game, and that is your role. Like, when you play as an engineer, your job is to either repair your own vehicles or to take out enemy tanks. Like, that is what you're amazing at. The downside of it though is that once you start to get into infantry-based combat and you're going for those long-range engagements with the personal defense weapons, that's when you're going to start to struggle. But honestly, that's for a good reason, and that's where class balance comes into play. Like, if you made it so that all the personal defense weapons did even more damage than they do right now, up close and personal, they would be borderline overpowered. Actually, they would be simply overpowered. Like, the SR2, the AS Val, and the CZ3A1 are already, like, the best close encounter weapons in the game. Like, they blow pretty much all of the other weapons out of the water in close encounter combat. And then if you made it so that they did even more damage alongside the fact that they are already the best anti-vehicle class in the game, you would see a massive shift of the player base moving on over towards that class, because they would simply be just overpowered. Like, they truly would be overpowered. And really, you just have to think it from a design and a balance perspective. Like, DICE really likes the whole rock, paper, scissors mentality. This is the reason why bolt-action rifles don't do very well up close, because they dominate at a distance. This is the reason why the engineer class doesn't do very well at long range, because they have the strengths of doing well up close, but also taking out tanks. Assault rifles, you know, they're basically the best, but they have no way at taking out vehicles. Like, this is the way that DICE likes to balance things out. This includes not only the classes, but also the vehicles. And I would say, for the most part, they've done a very good job with the class balance. And so, increasing the damage of the PDWs, while I know that it can be a little frustrating to go on the battlefield and not feel very effective when you see those people at long range and they're completely blowing you out of the water with the, with their assault rifles, just remember that you do have another role, and that you can't be good in every single type of combat scenario. The next question is, do you think that DICE should add in-vehicle chat into Battlefield 4? I'm actually surprised that this isn't already in the game, because communication, especially when you're in a vehicle that requires it, like the attack helicopter, is extremely important. Like, if you're the gunner, or you're in the gunner position, and you're flying around, and you have no idea what the pilot is doing, like they're just doing their own thing, they're trying to, you know, secure kills with their rocket pods, but not lining you up for TV missiles, it's pretty infuriating when that happens. Like, you have no control over what's going on, and you're just trying to make do. And while you can still do reasonably well, if you had some way at just communicating with just the guy, you know, maybe clicking an extra button on your keyboard, I don't know how it would really work on console, but if there was just some way for you to maybe be like, hey, I would like you to line me up a TV missile shot on that tank, I think we can quickly take him out. That sounds like a pretty important thing to have in a video game like this. Like, the difference in effectiveness between an attack helicopter that is communicating with themselves and one that isn't is gigantic. Like, the chasm is massive in their effectiveness. This is also true when you're down in the ground in a tank. Like, if you are the driver in a tank and you have a gunner, he can let you know when there's about to be 4 recon about to jump behind cover and blow you up with about 1,000 C4. If you weren't on comms, you wouldn't know to push forward to allow him the opportunity to quickly take them out. Like, communication in Battlefield, in a team-oriented game, really in any team-oriented game, is key. And if you have these vehicles, that makes it kind of hard to type things out, or if you're playing on consoles, you're not going to be able to message them over, you know, chat that, hey, there's guys directly behind us, because once you go through the chat system, you're probably already dead, or they didn't even realize that you sent the message. So I honestly think that this would be a very nice addition into Battlefield. The next question is, what do you think about the smart pistols in Titanfall? Ooh, the smart pistol has been a very controversial weapon in Titanfall, and really in all first-person shooters, because a lot of people say that it's basically a noob weapon, it doesn't require any skill, and then it detracts from the experience. Like, it sucks to get killed by a smart pistol. And at first, I was not sold on the idea. Like, when I first played Titanfall, I was running around, and when I got instantly killed by someone that was using it, yeah, I was pretty infuriated by it. It's not fun, instantly dying by anything in any type of video game, and when you know that the player that just took you out didn't really have to do a whole lot, they basically just had to keep their screen over you throughout the entire process, and then you died, that sucks. Like, that doesn't feel very good. But then after playing for a while, I realized that you have to hold that lock for a significant amount of time. And I realized that you can upgrade it, and I would say that the upgraded smart pistol would probably be a little bit pushing things a little bit too far. But I think the standard pistol itself works really well. Like, it's great for players that have no idea what's going on, they're new to first-person shooters, or really new to console gaming in general, because it allows them to at least do reasonably well. They can kill grunts, they can kill specters, you know, somewhat effectively, they can go around and kill a pilot every once in a while, but if they go against someone that has a general idea of what's going on, and they're moving around, and they're using the parkour system effectively, the person who using the smart pistol is gonna have a very difficult time taking them out. Like, if you go toe-to-toe with someone who is using, let's say, the carbine, for example, which is easily one of the most popular weapons in the game right now, and you start the engagement at the same time, if they have just a general idea of what's going on and their accuracy is at least somewhat decent, you're not gonna win that firefight. Like, the lock on time is gonna take you too long. And sure, you could, you know, shoot them manually, which is what I would do in that situation. But if you're relying so heavily on the smart pistol that you need to have that lock to kill someone, if you start the firefight at the same time, as long as they know at least somewhat what they're doing, they're gonna be able to blow you away. And so I personally don't think it's as bad as a lot of people make it out to be. I know it can be very frustrating, like, I know it sucks, but for the most part, I think that it is a nice transition for people that are getting into first-person shooters. And honestly, if it gets them involved in it and it gets them excited about playing all these awesome video games and allows them to transition on over into something like Battlefield, I think that's great. Like, the more the merrier. I think that if it gets people involved in first-person shooters, then it accomplished its goal. But that's about it for today's Sunday Mailbox, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Once again, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below or by sending me a YouTube message. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.